Greetings and welcome, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, to episode 379 of the Words About Games podcast, the weekly gaming podcast for words about games. I'm your host, Amy K. Alexander, and I'm joined this week by Mr. Vitz Patel.
Back at it like a bad habit. How are you, Amy?
I don't know why I was shooting you.
I mean, sure.
With love.
Yes, of course. I felt it right here.
That's good. That's good. I never shoot you with bullets. Unless we were playing a game and the objective was to shoot you with bullets. But then I'd be shooting your avatar with bullets. Not you.
Yeah, it can get quite existential.
I was about to say, like, we're venturing very quickly. We've been, 30 seconds?
Yep.
And it's getting pretty existential up in here.
If you had that on your bingo card, then you win.
Yeah! Ding, 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 ding. 30 seconds before Amy makes it weird. To answer your question, I'm good.
There you go.
I'm good.
I'll take that.
What if I just answered the question? I had my
Like
gender.
30 minutes later, you do that. Well, to answer your original
It's
question.
like, what was the question? I had my gender appointment yesterday at the NHS. It was intense, and there was a lot of not answering the question. Like, you know, when someone's asking a question and they want you to give a specific answer, and they're just not, so you just have to keep trying to find ways of, like, re-asking the question.
Yeah, and you like throw the different curve words in there.
And then you're getting that look on your face, which is just like, what the fuck? What the fuck are you doing right now? So that happened to me yesterday. in this 2-hour interview, where she kept asking me this question, and like I kept giving an answer, but it wasn't like the simple answer.
It wasn't the one they had down on the card.
It was like I'm going around the answer, which it was the answer, but I was just making it way too complicated. And then when I finally like realized what I was trying to say in like 1,000 words that I could have just said in 5. And then, you know, we had a laugh about it. Like, oh, it really is just that simple. It's like, yeah. Well, I mean, if like anyone who's ever watched me on YouTube, and I said this out loud in the interview, I said, anyone who's ever watched me on YouTube will know I make things way too complicated. That should really be simple. Ask anyone who's seen my Bloodborne video.
Or like the documents that any of the number of projects you're working on at the moment.
So I finished one game that we're going to talk about later, because I finished a bunch of games this week. I played a bunch. And like, I wrote like 6 pages of notes. Like, after I'd finished playing it, I was like, holy shit, like, I need to make a video about this at some point. Let me write down all my notes so I don't forget. Oh, and this will be mint, because then I can use it for like talking about it on the podcast on Thursday. And then I flipped back through them, and I was like, I can't use any of this on the podcast. What am I going to, like, so this game, so have you ever heard of the Taoist, Taoist philosophies around the opposites, yin, yang, order, chaos? It's like, I'm not going to do that on a podcast.
The audience is like, I understood some of those words.
Moody would just be like, shut the fuck up, Amy. And I wouldn't even blame him. Like, I make video essays, so I don't have to bother him with this stuff.
There you go, and they can't interrupt you either.
No one can interrupt me. I have all the power. Well, I suppose they could close the video. But, yeah, no,
But don't do that. Click like and subscribe.
Yeah, do that instead. But no, it was intense though. Like, tell me your life story in detail, and then a lot of the questions were like pretty rough. Like, not a lot. Some of the questions were pretty rough. Really deeply personal, and the entire time I'm having this conversation, there's just another person silently typing the entire time, like click, 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 click. And as we talk about everything, and then like partway through, she's like, so you have the, like, and really casually just goes, so you seem to have more than a few traits of autism. Just super casually drops that in there. And I'm like, yeah, Yeah, I know. Like, I'm aware.
Sorry,
Thank you.
would you like me to act surprised here? What kind of reaction do you want from that?
Yeah, I'm aware that both it's a thing like that. There's like a surprisingly large amount of crossover between genderqueer people and autistic people, and also that includes me. So it was like, yeah, I'm not, yeah. And then it was sort of like a. Anyway, moving on from that revelation. Tell me about your childhood. Great.
Well,
Yeah, dredged some stuff up. Some of it was funny. Some of it wasn't so funny.
some bits you still have to process.
Luckily,
You realise you still have to process.
well, I was in a good place with it because, like, it's been 5 years since I came out. It's been 6 years almost since I'm gonna do something about this whole business going on in my head. So I've processed a lot, and I had counseling, and I've like come to terms with a lot of stuff. Like if I'd had to do that interview 5 years ago,
Yeah.
I would have been like, what the fuck? Just so much stuff I was saying. But like now it's just like, oh yeah, no, let me tell you this funny story.
Yeah.
Like,
No, of course. Like you've matured as a person, as well as over the last 5 years, as well as everything else that you've achieved. So,
Yes.
yeah, you're in a much better place to field those questions.
yeah, right, exactly. And it was like, I was just batting the questions down. Bam, bam,
Yeah.
bam.
Be interesting to know if you get a copy of all the bits they were typing up.
I don't know. I hope not. I don't want to read that. It'd be interesting to read back. It was fucking chaos, man. You'd think it would start from early childhood and eventually arrive at present day. And I don't know whether it was the way I was answering the questions or the way I was being asked the questions, but it was like a fucking pinball all over the place.
You preface everything by saying, "Well, I'm a storyteller, so let's."
I did actually mention it. I was like, because like it was one of those things. It's one of those funny things where it's like you don't think about it in any other terms at the time. But I went to university to study writing and filmmaking, so I fell in with filmmakers and theater gays, and like I found all of my people, even though I didn't know they were my people at the time.
There you go.
So it's like, it was funny in retrospect. How many times I built a community of people around myself.
There you go.
Of a certain type. So yeah, that was nuts.
Well, congrats on doing that. It's a big achievement.
It was, yeah. Now I've got to wait for the second appointment, which could be up to 2 years. So it's like, start the clock again.
Yes.
Here we go again. That 2 years is what you said last time. So I went out with a friend today and had fried chicken.
Oh, it did look good, the pictures you were showing earlier.
Yeah, I stuck them on Instagram. It's a place called Vitz. Like I said on Insta when I posted the pics, it was like one of the greatest things that's happened in the UK in the last few years, and there haven't been that many great things, is the rise of the street food.
Yes.
Like there's this market in town that was terrible for years. It was like for boomers. Everywhere to eat was either a greasy spoon or a weird like boomer tea shop, and all the shops were shit. And now it's like it's full of street food places. It smells amazing. There's fucking a comic shop. There's a retro toy shop. There's a retro game shop. Like, I actually enjoy going in there.
Brilliant.
So there's lots of food places like that. But I tripped myself to, because I'm the coolest person who's ever lived. I bought an Edgar Allan Poe book.
Yeah, you did.
So I now have a collection of Edgar Allan Poe to read, which I'm looking forward to, because I read a bit when I was in uni, because again, I was a fucking pretentious hipster nerd. And then I bought a Tracer because it was
Of course you did, yes.
It was £5. I was like, I mean, I have to have this, right?
Yeah.
It's so cheap. Those were my purchases. Like, they couldn't be further apart. And
This is the yin and yang.
this is the yin and yang. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah,
Like you said, I'm a storyteller. It's what I do.
100%. Yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks. The motor racing season is dying down, so the last Formula One race happening this weekend at the time of recording.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, MotoGP is wrapping up as well. So yeah, thankfully Sundays are going to get a lot quieter. But then we're filling that time in with some great D&D stuff and planning on getting all things D&D up and running. So yeah, and then a lot more Baldur's Gate. I met some interesting people, which I'm sure we'll discuss later on today. So yeah, it's all good.
We will. I'm looking forward to it. You obviously, I know a lot about Baldur's Gate already because I asked you to keep me updated. I'm reliving Baldur's Gate 3 vicariously through you.
That's it.
Because I don't have another 70 hours to replay it. Even if I did, I don't know if I'd do anything differently. It's one of those choice-based games where I was like, I'm pretty happy with what I did. Like,
Amy's like, I regret nothing.
I have no regrets. I had sex with all of the demons it was possible to have sex with.
There you go.
Like, if they add more, I'll be back. Until then.
Yeah. Larry, get to work.
Yeah, put it in there. But you've made a definitive edition of your last two games. Make a definitive edition of this game.
There you go.
That's cool, man. Like, yeah, no, I've been thinking about, because obviously, like, now that we've got a date for like when we're doing a Game of the Year discussion, I've been like, oh shit, I should really play some fucking games.
Yeah.
And Moody literally texted me the exact same thing, like, I should really play some games. And I was like, I know, man, right? Same. So, like, I've got this list. You've seen my list. And I just fucking chopped, like, 2/3 off of it. I was just like, right, what? Like, I'm a recondored it. I was just like, what on this list is going to bring me joy? And also, what's achievable in the next 3.5 weeks? So, like... But I was just thinking more and more about it, where it's like, because it's the Steam sale now. And I love filling my basket up and then deleting, like, most of the things I put in the basket. That's how
putting so many things in there, it just sends an exclamation mark.
It changed to an exclamation mark. I put so much stuff in there. Like,
that should be a Steam achievement.
And it just
don't care what you say.
And it just went, what the fuck are you doing? And I was just like, I'm not
Numbers
going to
don't go
buy
up
it all. I'm not going to buy it all. And then Steam was probably thinking, like, use your wish list, you dumb bitch. And I was just like, there's 300 games on my wish list. If I put something in there, I'm never going to find it again. I do that thing where it's like, support indie devs by wish listing their game, and now my wish list is useless.
You took that to heart, though. You wish listed everything.
I wish listed everything. But like, I was thinking about like games that I really want to play and stuff, and then I was just like, man, like a few years ago, I was a game reviewer, like properly, like a game reviewer, and like you have no idea how much that warps your psychology of like how to play video games and what video games to play, where it's just like I have to be on the cutting edge. It has to be current or it's pointless. Yes. And then Moody broke me out of that. Like, I'm not even going to say I got myself out of that. As the story goes, I was up one day till 4:30 in the morning finishing off a Wasteland 3 review to make sure I could get it ready for embargo, like, which was at 10 a.m. Like that day. And I was telling him, and he just went, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I didn't have a good answer for him.
Yeah. I was just like,
I was hitting the embargo, and he was like, "Why?" Yeah. And he was like, "Because it's the embargo." It's like, and we were stuck in that circular conversation for a little while. And now I just don't accept review codes at all. Like, I stopped like getting review copies, and which sucks a bit because, you know, free games, it's a real money saver. But I used to say they're not free. I just pay for them with my time. But even like from then, we still talk about games. Like, that's where this whole like discussion of games, reviewing games, where we talk about them on the podcast came from. And even then, it's still like, oh, I should have something to talk about for the podcast, you know. and like I've slowly been like backing off from that. And now I've
Yeah.
just been thinking like, okay, so there's games that I want to play from this year and like clean up, but like, and then it's like, what do I do after? I'm gonna have a whole Christmas break, which I normally use to like mop up like Game of the Year stuff, and I don't have that anymore because we're going before Christmas. It's like, what do I do? And then I was like, I really want to play Dark Souls 2 and Half-Life, and I want to finish Persona 5 Royal. And I want to finish
you do.
Pokemon, and I want to finish Pokemon Violet, and play Pokemon Arceus, and play a Pokemon game that has Bulbasaur in it, because Moody loves Bulbasaur, and I would like to have that
sure does.
opportunity to love Bulbasaur. And like,
I thought you were gonna say, I want to play a Pokemon that doesn't hurt my eyes.
I also do want to play a Pokemon that doesn't hurt my eyes. And like, I want to play like Outer Wilds and Shadow of the Colossus. And like, I played To the Moon, but there's like a whole series of games that I've never played after that. And like, I'm just like, all of these games are obviously not current. And like, I always used to just talk about it like on this podcast or whatever, and just be like, I missed these games, right? And like, that's a really insidious like way of phrasing it, right? Where it's just like it's
100%,
it's part of the formal. Because missed games is just part of the language of how we talk about video games, like when we talk about them in this space. And it's just like, but if you actually stop to really think about it, it's like I haven't missed anything. Like if I installed Dark Souls 2 tomorrow and started playing it, it's a new game for me. I've never played it.
Absolutely, it's new to you, and the only instances where that does apply is when it gets taken down from digital storefronts. That's the only reason. That's the only example where it applies, kind of thing. But yeah, 100%. The experience is going to be new to you, and even if you're in that position of revisiting a game, you're having a new experience in terms of what you're bringing to it with that lens of knowledge that you already have. Kind of thing. So it all has value.
Yeah, like I have videos that I want to do, and like I always used to joke, but I don't know if it was, but never knew if it was a joke. Where it was like I started doing retrospectives to give myself an excuse to like play the old games, and like there is an element of that. Like I want to make a video about the Silent Hill series, and I've got this really cool idea for a video about Elden Ring, and the Fallout games, and it's like I'll get to all of them. Like I'm not rushing to do all these videos, but it's like, and it would just be cool to play those games again.
Yeah.
like to boil it right down, it's like, but they're good games. And I'd like to play them. Well, some of them are good games. Not all the Fallout games are good, but in my opinion, all right.
I agree. I have many grievances with Todd Howard.
Before you jump down my throat, I've said things like that in the past, and I've gotten in trouble. The video I'm doing is going to be really evenly well balanced. Like that's the whole point of it. But it is just like that thing of like, I think going into next year, I think I'm like this year, like last year, I remember Moody. I think I played like 70 games, like new release games and stuff. It was a ridiculous amount, and that was like lower for me, like in previous years. But again, I was a reviewer, so I was like fucking going mental. And this year, my spreadsheet says I played 31 new games. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm really happy with that number. Like, that's way better. Like, and I'm just like, is it going to be less next year? Because I really just do not want to be on this treadmill of like constantly being on the cutting edge and being part of the conversation.
So to date, I've played 10 titles which were released this year, which I think is a healthy amount for me. I think it's around that number usually, kind of thing. So I'll get to like a game a month, there or thereabouts, kind of thing. So yeah, I think, like I said, the games aren't going anywhere for the most part, kind of thing. So just get to it when you get to it, and it's also one of these where a game can come out in a particular month and you're just not feeling that vibe. It's like to dip into like with the Last of Us Part 2 remaster being announced, kind of thing. Not many people are going to be in a mood to jump into that kind of experience with the year that we've had, or the years that we've had, kind of thing. And it's one of these where you need to be in the right mindset. And, that's completely valid as well.
Yeah, like I have wondered this aloud sometimes, where it's like bad reviews that I've given in the past for games. It's like, and opinions change, right? It's like, you know, I've definitely changed my opinion on some games in the past, but
absolutely,
like how many bad reviews or like negative reviews did I give a game just because I wasn't vibing with it, but it was also like I had to do a review of it?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's happened, in the past, and other games that have hit harder, like because of the time that I played them. Like this year, when I was in like that February March time, when I wasn't really feeling video games as a medium for a while, and then I spent like a month playing Octopath Traveler 2, and it's like I vibed so hard with that game because I think it was just exactly what I needed in that moment.
Yeah.
So that's a special game to me. Like, and like it might not be like many's like people's like top 10 games of the year or whatever, but it's mine, and part of that is because of that personal experience as well as just the fact that it's a really good game.
Yes.
Whose soundtrack deserves to be nominated at the Game Awards, but Jeff Keighley's a scrub, so what can you do?
I was watching a video from the wonderful Alana Pierce today, actually, and she was talking about how the Game Awards are essentially bullshit, and they were going through essentially just highlighting who the voting jury are for the Game Awards and all the different outlets which are there, and it's a worldwide thing. So we've got Suitors from, of course, the US and the UK kind of thing, but from all over the world, and it's kind of for anyone to say, Sony have obviously parked a bunch of money at their door to get certain games nominated. But okay, but Nintendo have got 2 games nominated for Game of the Year kind of thing. But then across all of these outlets, there isn't physically enough money to give to everyone to make that happen. And they go to some lengths to kind of reinstate that Jeff isn't part of the voting committee and all the rest of it. Whether that's just word salad or not, it's beside the point. It's the vibe that he gives off in terms of it being the Jeff show.
Well, that's what he gets for like owning it, right? Like that's his fault.
But that's it. But it just goes back to that point of regardless of what title wins Game of the Year, it doesn't matter in the grand schemes of things because it's going to be different to your Game of the Year or my Game of the Year or whatever it happens to be kind of thing, and your opinion is just as valid as everybody else. Is just it's a collection of marketing willpower. It's just a Game Awards. It's
the consensus Game of the Year, which is probably the least interesting Game of the Year. Like I talked about last week. It's like it's the least interesting way to tell me what Game of the Year is. Like, oh, what did everybody vote for? Okay. It's a popularity contest. I'm more interested in a popularity contest. Give me emotion. Give me passion. Give me your pitch.
To be fair, we do get those at the Game Awards. It's just usually from the people who rush the stage and say what they need to say. That's where the emotion and the passion from.
Yeah. You're making me want to watch the Game Awards just in case something like that happens.
But to be fair, like if it does happen, then it's bound to get clipped out and it'll be all over the place. Sure. So, and it'll be on. Chances are it'll be on at redonk o'clock in the morning. And for us here in the UK, not so much.
I've watched it every year since forever. Like
I've always watched it, but I haven't necessarily watched it live. I'll catch up like the day after watching a VOD of, say, Kind of Funny do their live reactions. So it's a fun hangout stream.
That's cool. I always just watched it live. I used to stream it like many, many years ago. But I've like I have many strengths, but reacting to things is not one of them.
I imagine you have, and this is going to be like a local reference for people in the UK, kind of a Terry Wogan Eurovision vibe about you watching the Game Awards, just calling the winner before it's announced because it's in voting from all the other countries.
Oh, what a surprise! A Nintendo game won Best Family. Like, how did half of these even get nominated? Don't even have multiplayer.
Ongoing game of the best ongoing game goes to Final Fantasy 14 again.
Probably a bit, and then I don't know. Like, I get excited for things, but like I don't like in the arena of like reaction, like streamers and content creators. Like it was just like I'm almost a parody of those channels, like not intentionally. I'll be sitting there and it'll be like Elden Ring is being revealed at the Summer Game Fest, and I'm enjoying the trailer, but I'm just going, yeah, it looks pretty good. Like, oh, that looks really good. Like, I've never lost my shit like at a trailer, like even ones I'm like really fucking excited for. Like, I'm the anti-get hype. I'm just like,
yeah. That'll be fun when we get to it. Yeah.
When's it coming out? 6 years from now. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I look forward to getting stomped by that tree sentinel.
And I did.
But were you stubborn-headed like I was and just said, okay, I've lost to it 6 times, but the 7th time this is the run.
But this is the one. This is the run. No. I actually streamed, I think, my first 20 hours of Elden Ring. So there's like footage of, I made a clip show of all the dumb shit that I did in the first 20 hours of Elden Ring. And obviously I'm not a FromSoft new person. Like I'd played like Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 before.
You knew what you were doing.
So I knew what I was doing. And I had the thing, like, so the first main boss is Margit.
Yeah.
And I had his bell. Like, I'd gotten his bell from patches, and I was still getting used to the buttons. Like, because I was using an Elite controller, and I'd swapped X and Y around for a different game, and I hadn't swapped them back, so I kept hitting X and Y, like, interchangeably, which was problematic, because one of those buttons is items. And, and I was going back for my second run at Margit. So, first run, got stomped, but I was like, yeah, I can totally do this. Like, I know what I'm doing. Second run, I got to the fog gate, and instead of pushing A to go through the gate, I activated his bell. and I thought, oh shit, oh well, that sucks. Like, and then I went in, and activating his bell just froze him. He glitched. I got past the boss because he didn't move.
You put their foolish ambitions to rest.
So I never actually had that skill gate that everybody else had.
That's good. Yeah, the first skill check.
I just like walked by. I was like, cool. So see you later then, I guess. I'm going to go in this castle right now.
There you go.
And then, I got all my experience that everybody else probably got from hitting Margit, turning around, and going the other way. I got it from inside the castle. So I barely explored back. And it was a complete accident. I was just like, oh, fuck. And I was tempted to just like throw myself off a cliff and just be like, I kind of want to do this fight properly.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to take advantage of this.
Of course, yeah.
Dead. I'm the best.
Well, hopefully we'll get to hear when that DLC is inbound, and we'll get to experience new things like that.
Yeah, no, I love FromSoft. I love the collective storytelling, like everybody does. It's like, hey, did you get to this bit? It's like, yeah, this dumb thing happened. Like I was sharing all the dumb shit that happened to me when I was making my Dark Souls 3 video. And like the stray demon threw me off the bridge, and I was just like, what the fuck, man? Just picked me up and just threw me. I was just like, you're joking, right?
That's a thing.
But it's like, for some reason it's funny. Like I'm not even mad. Like I've spent like 5 minutes fighting, and then he's nearly dead, and then he's just gone, see ya.
Yeah. You activate like the Winter Soldier. That's it.
But like I'll play the Elden Ring DLC when it comes out, like for sure. Like there's still new games that I want to play, like to wrap back around to the point I was making, like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, and Hollow Knight. Like when they come out, I'll drop everything to play them. But like I don't know, like I feel like I'm just gonna fill in a lot of time next year by playing like old stuff. And have a great time. Like, how have I never played Half-Life? Like, how have I never played Outer Wilds? That sounds like the most Amy game I've ever heard of in my entire life.
To be fair, so while I have played Half-Life, it was back in, I want to say 2004, but me being me, I ended up playing it on PlayStation 2 rather than on a PC like it's supposed to.
Oof.
So, that was an experience.
Yeah, so I didn't play Deus Ex for a very long time for the exact same reason. Like I played the PS2 version, and that's bad. God, that was a bad game. Like there are some games you just can't translate from PC to a console, especially back in those days. And it was just like Jesus. And so I thought, oh, it's just one of those games that everybody likes and I don't. And then like. I think I played it like I played through Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, and I was like, damn, I really need like another like good meaty immersive sim RPG, and someone can finally convince me to play Deus Ex but on PC. And I was like, holy shit, this is one of the best games I've ever played in my entire life. What the fuck? And then I played Human Revolution, and I was like, okay, I didn't ask for this. It's fine. It's a fine game. I'm not saying it's a shit game. It's a fine game.
So I think the main the voice actor behind Adam Jensen, I believe the protagonist is. So they voiced one of the principal characters in Starfield, and they were on a podcast recently. And so he sits by. Obviously, they've got work coming in for other gigs, but he sits by his phone waiting for it to ring for them to be another Deus Ex game, and it's like, it's not happening, bro.
Yeah, no, it's like, come on, guys, what the hell? Even I liked Mankind Divided. Like you really did a really good job with that second game, and it's like, and then you just stopped it there, and it's like, no, you were just figuring it out. Because that's the thing about like first games in series is, it's like, I think sometimes we judge first games way too harshly, or it's like, you imagine like if you go back to like Assassin's Creed 1.
Yes.
To Assassin's Creed 2, and it's like, yeah, sure, Assassin's Creed 1 was a bit rough and a bit ropey, but like they figured it out in the next one, and then like Mass Effect 1 had like so many awesome like things about it, but the gameplay was not one of them. And then like they took everything that they made in Mass Effect 1 that was amazing, and then built good gameplay in Mass Effect 2. And it's like, nowadays it's like, if the first one isn't a masterpiece, it's like, do we get a sequel? Like,
yeah.
do people
is the
care?
studio still around?
Like,
yeah.
Like, people don't care anymore. And it's just like, no, guys, trust me. Like, if you play a first game and your thought is like, damn, this could be great, it's like, then fucking be vocal about getting a sequel, because history tells us that sequel is going to be like, go.
There's going to be so many titles like Immortals of Avium this year, which came and may have had some good ideas, but made a few iffy game design decisions.
Yeah.
Easy to say. And it's one of these where, it didn't sell very well. They released it at the wrong time. The studio's about to be, I imagine it's about to be shuttered kind of thing. It's already had a bunch of layoffs, but what studio hasn't this year kind of thing. So it's one of these. Where,
it's become a daily occurrence. Like Toad's Anime, Ryan Brown on social media, Toad's Anime. Like, he's a great guy, and he does he like tweets or like posts video game news, and like literally I felt like every time I was opening Bluesky, I was just opening it to a post from Ryan, just being like, hey, this place has had layoffs, and I was just like, oh Jesus Christ, man. Like, can we just not with this shit right now? It's Christmas.
Or whatever holiday you happen to be celebrating.
Yeah, or Colonialism Day, or whatever other fucking day it is. Like, like, oh my god. Like, I hate it. Cool. So, like...
Should we talk about the Halcyon Days of Yesteryear?
The Halcyon Days of Yesteryear. So I've been reading this book, Fight Magic Items, which is the history of... It says on the front, the history of Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, and the rise of Japanese RPGs in the West. I didn't know Dragon Quest came out first. So I was being schooled from like page 1. It's by Aidan Moore, who's seems like a really cool dude. I've interacted with him on Bluesky a few times, but it's a really good book. I'm like this far through it.
It's a lot.
I've almost reached Final Fantasy VII, and I remember Final Fantasy VII. So we're starting to get to the point where I entered the chat. But I was telling you, Vitz, that there was a bit in it that really like made me to sort of go, "Oh, that's cool. That's an interesting point. I think we can have thoughts about that." So I'm just gonna read it, except I can't fucking see it. All the lights are pointed at me. Hold on.
Stand by, viewer.
Yeah, so there's a line in here in a section where they're talking about Final Fantasy VI, So I'll just read the paragraph. It says, Director Yoshinori Kitase looks back on those challenging technical limitations with a certain fondness and a recognition that it squeezed creativity out of his team of writers, designers, and artists. Quote, I miss the limitations of making games in those days, he admitted to Edge. Nowadays, you can do almost anything in a game. It's a paradox, but this can be more creatively limiting than having hard technical limitations to work within. There's a certain freedom to be found in working within strict boundaries, one clearly evident in Final Fantasy VI. End quote. And like, that really kind of resonated with me. Like, because I messaged you about this topic. And like, as I mentioned, like I studied writing and filmmaking at university, and like one of the things that they drill into you when you're making films or writing scripts for films is like cut everything, like it's like cut it down to the fucking bone, because that's how you get to the good stuff, right?
Is this in a sense of if it's not moving the A or B plot forward, then get rid of it kind of thing? Or?
Not necessarily. It's just like it's more of a like creative reappraisal of what you've written. So like if you've written a movie script and it's 100 pages long, you could probably cut that down to 60 pages and make it better. It's not it's like it's hard to describe. It's kind of
Is it more a question of efficiency rather than anything else?
It's not really a question of necessarily efficiency. It's more just a question of like tightening it up, right? Like everything can whether it's from that or from just my life in general, I think like in terms of creative works, it's like cutting things down so that you only have what's important makes the thing better. Game, book, play, movie, TV show, whatever.
Video essay.
Video essay. Yeah, like I cut so much out of my video essays, which sounds mental because they're all really long, but like like sometimes you just look at it, or it's like you go off on a tangent. I'll go off on a tangent when I'm writing a video essay, and I reread it with fresh eyes, and I go, that tangent's really good, like, but it makes the video worse. So it goes, like, you can write something amazing, but in the grand scheme of the video, it makes the video as a whole worse. So you cut it while crying. Because like, it's just so good. Such a good point.
They're all your children.
But it makes the overall video experience better. And that's what I learned in like writing, like script writing and filmmaking. It's just like, dude, does this scene need to be in here? Can I move this dialogue to different scenes? Like, because like, yeah, rewriting is a big part of writing. Like
it's not one and done. Send it.
No, God, no. Like the first draft is the worst thing you'll ever write.
Yeah,
that's what you get in your mind. It's just like you reread it and you go, "What a piece of shit!" I'm so glad I didn't hit record on this. That's why things take so long.
That's it.
Unless you're an IGN video, I guess. But just hitting record on those first drafts. But yeah, it's just like I sort of like I get where Kitase is coming from, where it's just like not necessarily. I'm not going to sit here and suddenly turn this into old games were better back in my day. I mean, I never played Final Fantasy VI, so I don't know.
For our international viewers, that might be Final Fantasy 3 in your region.
You might be thinking of Final Fantasy 3,
yeah.
But like I kind of thought of it as like a whole thing across the medium, because like in the 90s and 2000s, you had cartridges, right? And those cartridges had a limited amount of memory. So you had to, I assume the designers of those games had to do a similar process to what I'm talking about from a filmmaking perspective, which is we have to cut stuff. Even if we think it's amazing, like we have to get this game on the cartridge, compared to now where it's like the only limitation is that the PlayStation has a 500 gigabyte hard drive, so we can't go over that. Like that's the limit.
Call of Duty will say, well, let's test that.
Hold my beer. But like it gives game designers like incredible creative freedom to put so much stuff in their games. But as Kitase pointed out, it's like that can also be quite limiting, right? Because like how much is too much? Like how much
when you can do everything, where do you begin?
So where do you stop? Like like where do you start focusing in to to just make the, like, at what point do you add something that might be really awesome, but it harms the overall game, like it was talking about with the videos there, and I don't know, I thought it was an interesting jumping off point for a chat.
No, 100%. I think that so this week a lot of the influencers got their hands on the Atari 2600 Plus re-released retro console, and it came with the original cartridge with dip switches in the back to switch between different titles and all the rest of it. And looking at some of the gameplay of those, it's stark in terms of the simplicity of these titles, but also the beauty in what was being able to be achieved, not only in the visuals when you've only got a small gamut of colors and whatnot to play with, but also from an audio point of view. So when you're talking about 8 or 16-bit systems kind of thing, and like the Super NES only being able to play certain number of song or certain number of audio notes together at the same time, it's all those MIDI files working together. And how do you compose around that rather than saying, oh, I can do everything orchestrally, which is beautiful now these days kind of thing. Yeah. But it's kind of, obviously these are the formative years of video games, and they would go on to inspire everything that comes today kind of thing. And it's one of these where, sometimes less is more.
Yeah, sometimes less is more. Like, again, I have it drilled into my head from my university days. It's like, do you need that 5-minute monologue? And then I'll sit there and I'll go, yes, it's absolutely essential. But then I'll think about it and I'll go, no, I don't need that 5-minute monologue. Does Horizon Zero Forbidden West need a paraglider? Really? Like, did it need a paraglider? Could we have taken that out, maybe?
The people at Gorilla thought, we're going to keep up with the Joneses.
We've got to make it like Zelda.
Yeah.
And no one can stop us because we can fit it on a 500-gigabyte PlayStation 5.
Yeah. Do we need Aloy to sell you exact solution to a puzzle the moment you step into a room? Could you leave it like 5 steps?
Could you at least let me see the puzzle first? Yeah. That actually happened to me.
Here going, Aloy.
As a tangent, that literally happened to me in God of War Ragnarok. I remember complaining to Moody about it on the podcast. I was like, I got the solution to the puzzle before I had seen the puzzle. But no, like, it's just like, I guess I'm approaching it from a video game standpoint in terms of 2 sort of avenues. One is my sort of area of expertise, which is story, right? Like, I think one of the more infamous cases of a game being too long, and I used air quotes there for audio listeners, it would be Alien Isolation, where it kind of hit a narrative crescendo and a satisfying ending for an alien adventure. And then there's like 6 more hours of game.
And the outstate is welcome.
Yeah, and then it keeps going. And admittedly, like, one of my favorite levels of the game is in that last 6 hours. But like my impression of the overall game was a lot worse from having had to go through those 6 hours to get to the end. Like, especially what they then chose for what was the last level was just pure frustration. Like, and I this was back in the day when I used to do Let's Plays. So I can easily remember being extraordinarily frustrated. And like, maybe if we just cut it off, in that sort of, at that sort of crescendo, recognize that, hey, we've got this one really fucking awesome level here. Let's find a way to work that back into the game here. And it's like, and it's like, yeah, someone needed to look at this and go, this needs to be shorter. Not in a nasty way. Oh, Vitz is frozen. This seems to happen every week.
I hopefully I'm back now.
You are back now.
Right. Sorry about that.
I was just saying that it's like an edit. It's like we need, like, the game almost needed an editor for someone to say it, not in a nasty or mean-spirited way, or even necessarily a negative way. Just say, like, look, what you've got something here which is great, but it needs to be just. You need to just do that with it. And
what I would love to see in these instances is how many rounds of focus testing did this experience go through, if at all, kind of thing, and where did that creative decision come from to say, no, we've got to include X, or it's got to hit X amount of hours. and that kind of thing. And whether that happened at all, or whether the people behind it couldn't see the wood for the trees and just thought, oh, we've built X amount of environments, X amount of levels, we're going to throw them in kind of and ship it because
Sure.
we don't know if we're making we're not signed on for a DLC or anything like that, so we've got to cram it in kind of thing.
You do lose yourself in the process as well. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have I sent you a video and just gone, "Can you tell me if this is good anymore?" Because I don't know, I can't tell.
Yes.
But and I mean, you also reach that sort of point of like art colliding with the fact that this isn't also an industry, where it's like, how much money would have cost them, like if they got Alien Isolation like end to end in like alpha, and maybe they even played it and went, shit, like we've kind of fucked it at the end here, but it's like, how much money would it cost them to then
retool
it, you know what I mean? Like, it's easy to rewrite a script when you realize, because it's just words on a page. It's a lot harder to rebuild a game. So I'm not like dancing past the fact that like there are hundreds of millions of dollars involved in these decisions.
Yeah, obviously, I think in those instances it'd be interesting to go through the process or their process of how they came to the final product in terms of when would you have seen those potential issues pop up? Would they have initially like storyboarded each of the main story beats, and then it may have been obvious then at that point to say, okay, you've got this real natural ending point here where you've had the big high, you've had a set piece or whatever happens to be kind of thing. You've faced off against a big bad, all is well, roll credits, and then they're saying, well, actually, no, we've got a lot more story to tell with side characters or whatever else it happens to be kind of thing. It'd be interesting to go back and see and be a fly on the wall in these situations.
Sure.
But a fly on the wall that can speak and just say, no, you're screwing up.
No, stop
typing. You there, stop typing.
Get away from my keyboard. Stop. It is a fascinating sort of thing, to the artistry of making a video game versus the business of making a video game. Because a point that you were just making is something else that I was thinking. It's like, and again, by the way, Alien Isolation is a game I love a lot. Like, don't let anyone think that I don't like it. I do love it. But I remember one thing that drew mine and Moody's ire last year was that revelation of Dying Light 2 has 500 hours of content, and me and Moody both just like being, what the fuck, man?
That's not a good thing.
And it's just like, right, that's terrible. But it's like, I think that's sort of another encapsulation of what we're talking about, where it's like, where was the limitation? You like all of this content, everything that you're putting in the game, all 500 hours could be like spectacular. But for a lot of people, like, this isn't just me and being weird about video games. I feel like that harms the overall game if there's 500 hours of great content, because it's like, I'm gonna run out of steam. At some point, like, if you pare that down to a brisk 100 hours, and maybe you've got me. But
but it's also that challenge of, well, not challenge, but the opportunity of, if you scaled all that down with all the resource that you save, how much better could you make those original 100 hours? The analogy that pops into my mind is to do with racing games, and all racing games will say, oh, we've got 500 cars, we've got 600 cars, we've got 1,000 cars in this, 90% of which that won't get touched. It's just there, and it's the resources that people went through to photograph, to digitally render, to record what the audio sounds like, to playtest, to create setups and all the rest of it, write all the copy up and do all that. All that could have been much better, all that time and effort could have been much better spent elsewhere, rather than just to hit a bullet point on the back of the box kind of thing.
Yeah, because that's what it sometimes feels like. It's very rare for a game to say, like, we've got tons of side quests and our world map is huge, and for it to actually feel like necessarily a creative like brag more than a marketing brag. Like, I think about The Witcher 3 having a world that was bigger than Skyrim, I think was the marketing back then. And like, it was like, oh yeah, but when you play it, like, fuck, it's a good world though. Like, but then it's like, oh, Far Cry 5 is this big, and then it's like, cool, and you spend your entire time like driving between one objective and another and not interacting with the world at all between point A and point B, and just going, why have they put this in here where it's like I have to drive for like 5 minutes?
And can you imagine the opposite if like Shadow of the Colossus came with that kind of energy and said, we've got 16 enemies.
Yeah.
That's it.
16 buses and nothing else.
But that's the beauty of the whole thing, but it wouldn't be captured on the back of the box.
But yeah, like in a marketing situation, it's just like, we can't brag about that. Most games have more enemies than that in the tutorial.
We've got all these shades of green you can look at in the landscape. So many shades of green.
I love Ueda's games, I really do. I can't wait to play Shadow of the Colossus.
In fact, Blue Point did an amazing remaster of that game.
Yeah, it's the same with Demon's Souls. Like straight up, Demon's Souls. Like I played it for the first time this year, the Blue Point remake, and it's one of my favorite games of the year. It didn't come out this year, but it was awesome.
If you are going to dip into Shadow of the Colossus, remind me to send you Nick Sutner's book for boss fight games that he did. About Shadow of the Colossus, and it's a great experience to play up to a certain bit of the game, read the chapter, vice versa kind of thing. It's a phenomenal experience to go back, because he's gone back and spoken to Ueda-san and spoken about, okay, what were the decisions behind this? How did this come to these kind of themes and whatnot? So more than happy to send that your.
All right, cool. I'll definitely keep that in mind. The Last Guardian, like. At some point, I'm going to release a video that is just The Last Guardian was amazing, you fucking heathens. Shut up. But yeah, no.
I love Toriko so much.
I do, and yeah, I've got strong opinions that I'll save. But it becomes like a marketing thing for the back of the box, or like the digital store page, where it's like, a world map bigger than planet Earth, 5,000 side quests, 20,000 collectibles, and look,
that might be a certain game called Starfield, saying you got 1,000 planets in your game.
Right? They did such a good job of making me almost play that game, and then at the end just went, "We've got 1,000 planets," and I just went, "I'm out."
Yeah.
I even said it on I was live streaming with Moody, and I looked at Moody and went, "No, I'm not doing that." But you won't have to explore them all. That's worse. Like that. I guess that's called part of this whole the crux of this point. It's just like, I guess we can focus in on Starfield a bit, where it's just like the pre-release marketing hype of 1,000 planets, and then I go, no, I don't want to explore 1,000 planets. That's too many planets. And the counter argument is, but you don't have to explore all of them. And then like, people look at me like I'm a mad woman when I say, then what's the point of all of the planets?
Yeah. If it's not enticing enough to go there in the first place, kind of thing, then there is no point in going.
Why are you making things that are pointless? Like, oh, it's nice side content. It's fun to explore. It's just like, but it can't be, because otherwise it would be necessary to the experience. Like, it's one of the reasons I love Fallout New Vegas so much. Everywhere you go, that's like a landmark place in that game. Like, something cool is happening.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh, this is just a vault full of people who say Gary at you, and isn't it funny? And that's the whole point of it. And it's just like, there's not even a quest here. What the fuck's going on? Like, I mean, it was kind of funny. 16 Garys ago, like, and it's just like more meaningful content, like less content but more meaningful.
Yes,
it seems like it kind of vibes, not just with me, but with a lot of other people. And I did wonder, like, it was one of the things I thought of when I read Kitase-san's quote in here, which was just like, oh yeah, because like back in the day, it's like they didn't have the freedom to make 1,000 planets that you don't have to explore. It was like everything in Final Fantasy VII had to be fucking relevant in some way. I was going to say 6, but then I was like, I haven't played 6. You haven't played 6, Amy. Don't say 6. You haven't played it yet. But yeah, like everything in Final Fantasy VII like had to be relevant, because that game was spread over 3 discs, and that was a lot of fucking discs.
Sure was.
Like everything in games that were put on cartridges had to be like present and part of the point, because otherwise, what was the point in making it? And I think, and again, I don't want to come off as new games bad, old games good, but like in modern gaming, in a lot of ways, we've lost that. In a lot of the bigger games, where it's like we make a lot of things that are kind of pointless, just to say that our game's the biggest and it has the most things. And it's just like, but what is the value of those things if I'm just going to ignore them?
Yes.
Like driving around a Far Cry map it was a lot of fun that one time a bear rammed me off the road, but that only happened like once in 40 hours. So, and I think if it happened too much, I would have got annoyed with it. Like the novelty of it happening once was great, but maybe that could have been like a semi-scripted like moment or something, and it still would have been memorable because a fucking bear raided me off the road.
Yeah, as we adjust our rose tinted glasses, there's also a side element that I want to just throw in there. Outside of the fact of the restrictions, it's more of a game 99% of the time had to work. And whatever bugs were there, it shipped with the cartridge. You can do anything about it.
Those bugs became features at GDQ.
Yeah, there you go. Those become exploits, right?
Yeah, that's how speedruns started, I think.
Yeah, but obviously it's great that developers can go back and adjust things after the fact in terms of balancing.
That is awesome.
But for it's also, you see it a lot of the times just used as a crutch of, oh, it's okay, and a studio celebrating own gold when we know there'll be a day 1 patch and day 2 patch and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and then it's just like in the background, like there's a server on fire. Some poor guy's just like bug crunching. Like.
as I imagined, at least anyway, back in the day, going gold would mean, yay, no more crunch of the developers. It's done. It's over. We've shipped. We've printed this.
We're free.
That's it. But then now it just means, now day 1 patch.
Yeah, it's like once we've taken the photo, it's like, we're back to work, everybody. The game still doesn't work. Yeah, there is that. There is that aspect of it as well. And also, I think smaller, more focused games would also I'd hope, would also alleviate some of that crunch.
Yes.
I mean, I always go back to this example because, while technically impressive, it still blows my mind. Like, those shrinking horse testicles in Red Dead Redemption 2? Why?
Someone had to take time and effort to put those in.
Very, very impressive. Very incredible work by everybody involved. Why? Though, because we could, cool, but.
And who benefited from those? It was the folks at IGN that would have made the video to get clicks and all the rest of it, and those are the only beneficiaries of that.
Well, to be honest, I'm fully aware that it was probably some people or someone who just got bored at work one day and just went, "Hey, did you know we can do this?" And then put it in as a joke. Like, I feel like that happens a lot, but yeah, it is just that kind of thing of like, again, I think we could focus in and stop making things in video games that 1,000 planets, man. Like, why? I'm done making the point now. I think my new go-to shorthand for this kind of topic is going to be 1,000 planets.
Yes.
But you only need to explore 10 of them.
If I'm honest, it might not be that much. It might not be that many.
Maybe it was 100. It was a lot. It was a lot of planets. And hang on.
Oh, no, sorry. As in the ones that you were, or I was at least inspired to explore. I think it was fewer than 10 during my playthrough of Starfield.
Everyone just says things about 1,000 planets. How many planets do you need to explore in Starfield? Because I'm sure they said. like, oh, but you don't need to explore this many. But I can't remember. But everybody just says 1,000 planets, which is fair. It's a big number, and it's
It is a big number.
You know what? It is an impressive number. I'm not going to take that away from the people that made Starfield. It is impressive that your game has 1,000 explorable planets in it. But I don't know. Did I need them?
It is impressive. What's less impressive for me though is that it's all populated by procedural content, but the environments that so for the structures that are on these planets, all of them are the same.
Yeah.
In terms of identical in terms of layout and things like that. So once you've explored one, you've explored them all, kind of thing. And yeah, there might be different enemies and different loot drops in certain different places, but you know exactly where you're going, and the rest of it takes. But it's to the points that we're both making. Less is.
Yeah, it's why I play No Man's Sky obsessively for like a weekend and then leave it for like 2 years, because it's like it is procedurally generated. So eventually you do start sort of running into repeating like buildings and events and items and stuff. But if I just play it in very small but concentrated bursts, I'll see loads of cool stuff, and then I'll dip, and then I'll come back 2 years later and I'll be like, whoa, look at all this cool stuff. They found a bubble planet. What the fuck?
I will say a quick shout out to Nintendo, who continuously amaze me by how small their game file sizes are compared to the vastness of and all the art and the beauty and the music and the in terms of like I believe Super Mario Wonder like clocks in at just over or under 4 gigs, and it's kind of when you think about Tears of the Kingdom, how it utilizes a lot of the legwork that I'll put in with the map, at least the overall map. Obviously they included some extra bits that I may not spoil for those who have yet Tears of the Kingdom. But yeah, there's a certain beauty and efficiency of that as well. If we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel, have the tier, and we can build freshly upon them.
We have the technology.
That's it. We can make them better.
We can make it better. And you did, in my opinion. Cool. I've got a light on my desk for no reason. I don't know why. I just saw it sitting on my desk.
If you'd like one of those lights, check your nearest Black Friday thingy by Logitech.
Don't get this one. Don't get this one.
Oh, do not get that one.
It's way too bright. It's good. It's good for modeling selfies, as I've found, like from an extreme distance. But when I try to use it for content, YouTube and stuff, like here, I'll show you. Like, and this is its lowest setting.
Oh wow!
Like it only gets that's the wrong knob. It only gets brighter from here. He's a little bit too powerful.
So everybody, if you like your retina's been burnt out, this is the light for you.
You should have seen the first episode. I tried to use it. I was just like, what was that video? You can't see it. Hold on, it's got a warm function. Maybe that'll be better. Oh, that's not bad. That's just orange. It's the curse of being a video maker. It's like lights and camera stands and tripods will just randomly trip over them or like find them. Yeah, they're everywhere. My eyes. Let's do an indie game of the week, and then when we come back, I'll be able to see again, and we can talk about some video games that we've played. So, indie game of the week this week. This is the thing we do every week where we try to... No, that's OpenCritic Head-To-Head. Where we... This is the thing we do every week where we talk about cool-looking upcoming indie games that look cool and we think you should know about. This week's indie game of the week is Tiny Glade, which is a small, relaxing game about doodling castles. Explore gridless building chemistry and watch the game carefully assemble every brick, pebble, and plank. There's no management, combat, or wrong answers. Just kick back and turn forgotten meadows into lovable dioramas. Sounds nice.
What a lovely time.
Yeah, you just doodle, and then the game goes, oh, cool, and builds it.
Imagine it's ASMR Central when all the different elements
You
come
just
into
sit
place.
there like,
Yeah.
this is the stuff. It's like It's like listening to rain, like a rainy day, you know, and just like chilling. It's just the same sort of vibe. It's just like, I don't know if that looked like I was chilling, but I was.
That's Amy's chilling face. Now we know.
Amy, open your eyes. You're missing the game. I don't care. I'm in the zoo.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
But Tiny Glade brought to you by the fine people over at Pouncelight. So coming 2024. So if you can, wishlist this right now to show your support.
Yeah, you've got a link wherever you're listening to this podcast in the description of the podcast.
Again, Tiny Glade.
Tiny Glade. Tiny Glade. That's gonna do it. Let's do a halftime break. My for some reason it's just my right eye. It's like it's a bit blind. I'm a bit blind.
Might catch you in a sec, team.
The things I do for this podcast.
I know the dedication for your craft.
I love halftime though, because like I get to reflect on all of the things I've just said, and like that entire time I was away going, wait, was I too mean about certain games there? Like, I'm in my own head. Excellent. Like, I have a deep love and respect for everybody who makes video games.
Yeah.
Someone once said to me when I was, because I used to be, when I was first starting out as a reviewer, I used to use my powers of wordsmith to maybe be a bit mean, like funny mean, which isn't really funny. Like, but
it's just mean, yeah.
It's just mean. and then someone told me, at one point, like, oh, you know, like you should write reviews like the people who made the thing are reading them because they might be. And I was like, wow. And that I really internalized that from that moment on. But I think I've internalized it too much. Where it's just like, oh no, I said a bad thing about a game. I'm sorry. I'll do my penance. Like, but yeah. So anyway, now that I've exposed the inner workings of my horrendous trash fire of a brain. Should we talk about some video games?
Video games, baby.
I've set myself up here. So I've been on a tear this last week.
You have?
I finished 2 games last weekend. like after there's some weeks where I just don't play games, and then last weekend I was like, I'm gonna play this one. I'm done. I'm gonna play another one. I'm done. I'm gonna play a third one. I'm not done, but I'm like halfway through.
There you go.
So I want to start with Slay the Princess.
You go for it.
Because I don't. It's you know when that really annoying thing people do, where they're like they play a game and they're like, this game's amazing, and then you go, oh, why? And then you go, I can't tell you. You just have to play it. Well, I'm about to do that.
There we have it. Go in sight unseen.
You have to
play the damn thing.
You have to go in with it's one of those games you have to go into with as little knowledge as possible. Because it's built around surprise. So I'll talk a little bit about it, but there will be like no specifics. Like, so I'm going to bring up the Steam store page.
Yeah.
Because what I realized about the Steam store description is it's also the opening monologue. And I'm like, it's such a good fucking opening line, and you do hear it a lot. So like it says the game opens and it's like, you're on a path in the woods. And at the end of the path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess. You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world. And that's the premise of Slay the Princess.
What more do you need?
There's a princess in a basement, and there's a narrator telling you, you're here to slay her.
You've been tasked to,
What happens next is up to you. It's a very heavily choice-based game. If you've ever played or heard about the Stanley Parable,
yes,
I would say that's sort of a good comparison. Where it's like, you've got a narrator in the game, and it's telling, like in the Stanley Parable, it's more he's telling you what happens, and you can just go, no, I'm going to go the other way. Mm-hmm. Whereas in this one, it's like it's less like future tense. Like the narrator's not telling you what is happening; he's telling you what to do, and you can choose to do that or not. And the game can fracture in dozens of ways based on small decisions that you can make. For example, to give one thing away, you get to the cabin, and all there is a door to the basement and a table with a blade on it that you pick up and take down to the basement with you. And you can choose to take the blade, or you can choose not to take the blade. And that has a fundamental change to what happens next. And then it branches out from there. And it's such a fucking cool game in
Fair
that
enough.
regard.
I'm just looking up on which platforms it's available on.
I believe it's just
Steam and good
Steam,
old
yeah.
games, yeah.
I think it's just a PC game right now.
Highly recommended, as it turns out.
It's incredibly, it comes incredibly highly recommended. Like, I love pushing at the edges of a game, and like in this game you have to find the edges before you can start pushing at them. Like, you know, when you're given you're given choices in games, and it's some part of your brain will always go, okay, how far can I take this?
Yes.
Like, how far can I take rebellion?
How much can I wind up the narrator?
And then you
one
can
of
really
those.
round up the narrator, and then the whole game is rebellion, and it's like what the fuck is even going on is the first thing that you have to figure out. And again, like, I could go into like massive depth about like why this game fucking rules, but then the game will be less special to anyone who hasn't played it.
Maybe one day we'll get a spoiler cast. Who knows?
I would love to do that. Like, I would love to discuss with people like what the hell happened in your playthrough.
Yes.
Because like the first thing I did, and I'll say this because obviously it's not a spoiler. The first thing I did is the first thing I do in all games like this. I did everything the narrator said I was going to do.
Follow the letter of the law.
I'm going to
and
set
then-
that baseline, and then in my second playthrough, I'm going to go, okay, now I'm going to do the exact opposite.
They're like, go left. No, I shall go right.
Yeah, and then it was just like, wow. Like, I had that wow moment of just like, oh wow, like I've gone the exact opposite. This is incredible. And then it's like, okay, now I'm finding like different ways I can change the encounter. And as I'm gaining more context for what's going on, like through like continuing to play the game, it's just like it's changing my perception of what I'm doing and what I want to do. And the game surprised me. I played it for 4.5 hours. I will go back and 100% it because I have to. I have to see everything that was in this game. But like it surprised me like every like 20 minutes. Like, I got this really awesome like surprise where I was just like, okay. Like, I'm cackling. And I played a demo of it last year, and I've been kind of beating the Slay the Princess drum since then. Saying like, you know, I played the demo and I fucking loved everything about the demo. Thinking it was like, it's this comedy horror game, like the Stanley Parable. Like, I fucking love the Stanley Parable. And then like I was surprised by how emotionally invested I got in the game and the narrative that I was unfolding, and like I got to the end, and I'd intended to keep playing because again I wanted to see all of the stuff, but then I got to the end of the game, or like the end of that version of events that I did, and I just was like it felt so personal and special to me, and I was so emotionally invested in it that I was like, I don't want to like tarnish that by going again and doing different stuff. So I just kind of went, I'm gonna leave it for a bit. I have the entire thing recorded.
Yeah.
Like all 4.5 hours I recorded a lot because I was like, within about 10 minutes I was like, I am at some point in the future going to make this video. That is gonna happen. Like, I have to. And yeah, it went from my expectation of going in thinking this is going to be really clever and it's going to be really funny to just being a really, really special experience that I was really, really invested in.
Nice.
Like, you stop taking the piss at some point. Like, it's like, it's funny to do this instead. But then I was like, I was more active in my choices. I was more thinking like, okay, I don't want to do X. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
want to do Y. And it was
Just
like,
for the sake of doing the opposite.
yeah, and it's just like, wow, like this game's really fucking got me.
So I imagine this isn't the case what it's doing internally in terms of social tracking, but whether after the fact to say on people's first playthrough, 20% of people did this and 80% of people did this kind of thing. Whether it's
No,
just
no.
not that type of experience.
It's not that type of experience. So I'm gonna read another part of the Steam store description, just to give you an idea of a little bit about what's going on, and it's in the store description, so like I feel like it's safe ground. When one of the features is no time loops. Don't be ridiculous. Time is a strictly linear concept and certainly doesn't loop, whatever that's supposed to mean. Do with that information what you will.
Yes.
But
have some conviction.
Yeah,
for goodness sake. Yeah.
It builds on top of itself in such a beautiful way. As you start again finding the edges of this experience, and it's a surprisingly like deeply philosophical game, and that I'm definitely going to be thinking about for a very long time. And now I get why people loved it so much when it came out. Like I thought I was going to love it just because of what I'd played of it being an irreverent comedy horror game, but now I'm like, no, this has affected me deeply, not just because it's quite funny. And yeah, fucking, but it just sucks that I can't just tell you why, because I'm like, I'll ruin the game if I tell you why. I'm so sorry.
It'll be interesting to see if it appears in any future shows.
In about 3 weeks, yeah, maybe. I think probably will. I know you don't do spooky games.
I do not do spooky games.
And obviously, like I just said, it is a comedy horror game. I think one of the things that happened to me was quite spooky. I don't know if it's necessarily a scary game though.
Okay, spooky. I think spooky is fine. It's when it gets like jump scary. I think that's where I'm.
I think in the 4.5 hours I played, there was maybe 1 or 2 moments where I kind of went,
okay,
like not necessarily like jump scare. It was just like, ooh, ooh. But it doesn't lean into horror as like a pure horror experience, like Alan Wake 2 doing its whole like horror vibe. I would love to know your thoughts on it because I think you would love.
I will give it a whirl.
I think you would love the game. It's not currently on sale. It just came out, so even I was just like, "Is it on sale with a Steam sale?" Like, no, sorry, it's not. Damn.
That'd be a bit ridiculous.
I would have been like, "Vitz, get it! It's on sale." But it was a very special experience. I mean, it looks amazing as well. The whole game is like a black and white, hand drawn pencil art.
Oh wow!
Style, and it's so fucking gorgeous from an artistic perspective.
Okay, I think that will also help with it not being quote unquote scary in terms of. I think when it comes to games which try to strive for photorealism and then they do the scary stuff, that's where I get into trouble.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's definitely stylized. I think
that's absolutely fine.
Things I wanted to say about the game, about the way the game is designed as well. So, for reasons that will become obvious as you play the game, choices that you have previously made that will lead to the same outcomes that you've already had are grayed out. So you can't dead end yourself into doing the same thing twice, which I really appreciated as somebody who has like a bit of a bad memory. You can't go down any blind alleys, or like repeat content. It's like if a choice exists and you've clicked on it before, it means you can click on it and branch out in a different way than you did previously, which was awesome for me, because I saw like a couple of times it was like, oh, I can't click this anymore, which means I've done that path, but I've still got
you've explored.
I've still got these other options, so like let me have a look at these and see what I want to do out of those. So I really did appreciate that, and for the amount of different characters, there's 2 voice actors in this game, doing a lot of work, and they're both incredible. I love them.
Awesome. Speaking of games with amazing art styles, tell me a little bit about Suitors.
Yeah, so this was the game I played before Slay the Princess. I played it over the course. I played the first 30 minutes 2 weeks ago, and then I sat down and finished the game last weekend. So Thirsty Suitors is... what was the tagline for Thirsty Suitors? Because that was what immediately sold me on the game.
Is it disappoint your parents?
Yeah.
Something like that? Yeah.
Yeah. Battle your exes, disappoint your parents, find yourself. And I was like, I'm in.
Yes.
No matter what, I'm playing this game. That was literally from the first trailer of at the Game Awards, I think it was. So this is it's an RPG, like a turn-based, story-driven RPG with like skateboarding mechanics as well as like combat and cooking. Lots of cooking, lots of food in this game. Very much centered on Indian culture for sure, or East Asian culture. The main character's Jala. Her parents are immigrants to America from Sri Lanka and India. I was trying to make sure I was taking all of this in while I was playing it. But sort of the rest of the cast is filled out by Jala's parents, Jala's family, some other characters, but the main core cast are Jala's exes. It's kind of set up in a weird Scott Pilgrim way.
Yes.
But I believe most of those characters are also either immigrants themselves or their parents were immigrants to America.
First generation or second generation.
First or second generation. So there's a lot of like shared stuff through that. And it's also incredibly queer. Like Jala's bisexual. Another character is trans. There's another character who's a lesbian. There's a non-binary character and that was really cool. To just have all of those characters just explode out of the screen. And it's kind of set up in sort of a way where it's like you deal with the storyline for one X, and then you do some family stuff, and then another, and then so on and so forth. And the way the story unfolds is really cool. The characters are fantastic. It's probably like my biggest shout out, like to the character writing. Like Jala's great. Her parents are fantastic. Her dad is incredible. I love him so much. And all of the exes are like, despite being antagonistic, like when you first meet all of them, because battle your exes, that's part of the game. It's like they're fucking great.
Yeah.
Like one of the battles against one of your exes, Bruno, and he's just so full of himself and into himself. And I was like 3/4 of the way through the boss fight before I realized the song that was playing was literally a song about how awesome he is.
Yes.
And I was like, fuck yeah. Wait,
this is a Barney Stinson energy coming.
Wait, I'm listening to the lyrics all of a sudden. I love this energy. But yeah, no, like I had a good time with it. Like I definitely had some issues with some of the gameplay, which we can talk about as well.
Is that more of the skateboarding side, or more of the kind of creating your persona and then in that turn-based?
So the skateboarding side of things, it's mostly just your way of traversing. It's very rudimentary. Like it wasn't designed to be Tony Hawk's, because I feel like that would probably have turned off a lot of people who, like me, who suck at Tony Hawk. So it's very easy to get to grips with, but it wasn't something I really engaged with when I realized I didn't necessarily have to. Like the skateboarding challenges that you can do, that I did like one of, and then I was just like, I don't want to do any of these. Like I don't want to play skateboarding.
There are options within the game to skip certain challenges as well.
There are, yes.
Yeah.
There's also options for passing QTEs, which I highly recommend you turn on. Because not necessarily because the QTEs are bad. There's a lot of them, and they're very repetitive, and it becomes incredibly annoying. And it's like this like friction between what's happening on the screen is great, what I'm doing is great, but I'm doing the same fucking QTs over again. It's really pissing me off. And that comes down into both combat and the cooking sections of the game. The cooking sections of the game were the worst offenders for the QTEs because there's only so many different things you can do while you're cooking. So if you're like me and you want to do all of the cooking recipes because they unlock conversations with either Jala's mother or Jala's father, which are excellent, you have to do a lot of these QTEs over and over again. And at a certain point, I was just like, let it end.
Yeah. So for my exposure to this game, so I've seen they done with one of the developers and the team over at Kind of Funny, and so Greg Miller, who's doing one of the cooking segments, and the amount of times he had to mash the square button and do it over and over and over again was obscene. But I really like the mechanic of, okay, Jala's trying to have a fun conversation with their mother, trying to get them to open up, but she knows not to compliment them too much, or slide certain compliments in because her mother's smart and she'll twig onto what she's trying to achieve, kind of thing. So from what I've seen, it's really well written.
Yeah, it's like I can't praise the writing of this game enough. Like I'll do it as much as I can. Like it's phenomenal, and it's obviously it's a lens into a culture I'm familiar with, but from the outside. So I can identify. I don't know if tropes is the right word, but I can identify
the themes.
I can identify the commonalities. It's like the relationship between Jala and Jala's father is exactly what I would have expected, but that doesn't make it bad. In fact, it makes it amazing. And then like some of the conversations you have with a dad are just fucking so good. I was like cackling with laughter. And then there's like lots of little cute moments as well. Like you end every day in the game by sitting down and watch TV with your dad, and then you fall asleep, and then he piggybacks you up the stairs every night. And I'm just like, that's fucking great, man. Like that instantly gives this game an extra point or star or whatever the fuck. But yeah, no, the game, like the story of the game is basically about how much wreckage Jala left behind when she kind of left home. She ran off with another girl for like 3 years, and now she's back, and like her sister's not talking to her, and like she hasn't barely talked to her parents for 3 years, and like her horniness kind of destroyed an entire social group, which is all of her exes. So like it's very much a comedic setup for a game that like does explore sort of like the damage that you can do to each other, in a funny way and in a fun and light way, but also like it does like drill into some truths, some hard truths. For example, one of the characters, one of the exes, Dia, was. It's quite a the old stereotype of she bullied Jala and another character a lot for being weird, but then turns out she was in the closet.
Oh wow.
Totally original. But then she had a fling with Jala in high school, which then ended really badly. And then when Dia came out to her parents kicked her out. And like they still live in the same town. And you talk to Dia, and Dia's like saying like, yeah, they don't even acknowledge me in the street and stuff. And it's like, it's resonant, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's truth.
We've seen this happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And all of the characters have stories like this. That I'm not gonna go into any other ones. But that they're all like really like resonant with like whatever's going on in their lives, and like they put really interesting like spins on these stories as well, which I really appreciated from a like enjoyment of the writing standpoint. But they all culminate in boss fights, which like I don't know if they're actually fighting like IRL. Like it's set up like they're just like back and forthing. Like it's set up like an intense conversation, but it's also presented as a JRPG battle. An incredibly stylish and amazing JRPG battle, where you can like call your mother as a summon to help you out, and she's just this giant fucking caricature of your mother appears and smacks someone with a slipper.
good old South Asian jump will do immense damage.
And like it's like the heaviest damage attack that you can do. the combat itself, like mechanically, like again, it's that friction. It's like mechanically, it was not the best. Like it didn't. I wouldn't say it was bad, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was great either. Especially carried over. Like I think I played this game for about 8 to 10 hours. But stylistically and like what's happening and like the different moves that you do and pull off and like the sniping and the conversations backwards and forwards, like it was all a joy to behold. It was just from a mechanical standpoint, I was like, I'd rather this was better.
Yes, no, 100%. I can appreciate where you're coming from on that one. Yeah,
because it's all down to weaknesses. So like you find a character's weakness to one of 5.
Isn't there like an insecurity, that kind of thing?
So it's sort of like elemental damage. Like mechanically, it's similar to elemental damage, but instead of being like fire or wind or whatever, it's like thirst or rage. It's like you're taunting them with a move that you pick from a menu to open them up to associated moves. So all of the different abilities that you have will be tied to these things. So like you taunt them with thirst, say for example, and then that opens them up to take extra damage from moves that are tied to the thirst.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's finding these weaknesses that's annoying because you have to go out of your way to keep trying taunts. So every turn you're burning one, and if you don't guess right, that's the turn wasted, and you've got to try again. I was recalling like Octopath Traveler 2, which has a similar battle system where it's like enemies have weaknesses that you have to expose. And then once you expose them, you can take advantage of them.
Yeah.
But you do that by attacking. So
the
thing that you would do anyway, you just hit them with every different kind of thing you can think of, and then eventually you'll find the weakness. Whereas with this, there's an extra step placed in front of it, where it's like you have to find the weakness first before you can then start doing the extra damage.
Yeah.
So it was like that extra step just really started to grate on me after 10 hours. Luckily, you unlock some extra summons throughout the game, and they can expose weaknesses for you. And I was so thankful of that because it was just like, yo, I'm going to use this move, lesbian laser beam, bam. And it's like all weaknesses exposed. I'm like, cool, that's going to make this fight so much less annoying.
There you go.
Lesbian
Great
laser
stuff.
beam.
So another highly recommended title from.
I'd say it's definitely a highly recommended title. Turn off the QTs. And my gift from me to you is that you do not have to engage in optional fights at all.
There you go.
You don't need to do it, so don't. Because everything I just said about the annoyance of combat amplifies greatly when you start doing optional fights. It's funny to try the optional fights in the town square once or twice. Once it stops being funny, you can just stop doing them.
That's Amy's pro tip of the week.
That's my Thirsty Suitors pro tip. If you're going to play it, that's my tip. And do all the recipes, because all the conversations that you get to unlock are great.
Cool. I've been sinking a buttload of more time into Baldur's Gate 3, so I am now coming up to, I want to say around about 40 hours in.
Nice.
Of this current playthrough. Given I played a bunch and then restarted because I wasn't quite happy with the build of my character, which now I realize that I should have just gone to Withers and just respect. But oh well, these are the dice I rolled.
Live and learn.
Live and learn, 100%. So for those who are familiar, so I through the Underdark and are now in the Shadow Curse land, which are full of terrifying creatures.
It's a fun place.
So yeah, there was an individual who a spider and a human hybrid, but not in the fun Tom Holland Spider-Man way. No. So I've developed a new phobia. So thank you, Baldur Gate, for that. Yeah, so I've currently been doing that, but yeah, obviously getting more comfortable with the mechanics and what I ought to be doing with different characters and their classes. As if you're not aware, you're controlling essentially every single member. You're building yourself, for example, a ranger and players.
You're just cutting out just a little bit.
No worries. So, yeah, as I was saying, you're not just controlling the character that you've created, it's also the rest of your party members as well. So, essentially, you're learning how to play as, for example, a fighter or a barbarian or a
All of the
cleric and a
classes.
wizard.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's it. So, we're figuring out how to do those. I met a individual who was made completely out of gold and who wanted a lot more gold from me, and I quickly put a stop to that and then discovered that they've either been excreting gold or just dropping piles of gold over the toll house. So I've just been scooping
Yep.
all that up.
Yeah. Oh, you've met one. So, should I say anything?
I imagine there's more of them.
There are three. There are another two characters that aren't made of gold,
Right, okay.
but are sort of a similar kind of encounter, and that's all I'm
Yes.
going to say. There's a place there's a place called the House of Healing, which
Oh, I've been to there. Yeah.
which had a thing inside of it, and the way I resolved this thing made me collapse in laughter. That the game let me get away with this.
So when I went to the House of Healing, I came across one of the few bugs, and I will say it's one of the few bugs that I play in this game, as one of the NPCs there. I believe like a nurse archetype, and
Sure.
essentially every single my party member was locked in with a conversation with them. I could not leave the area of the
no.
space, so I had to warp to one of the waymarkers, somewhere else on the map. But because my group was entangled with the conversation, I kind of had to do it one by one, and then go back and fetch them, kind of thing. So I haven't done the quote unquote story event that's in that, but what
Yeah.
I have done was found the parents of a little child who you met earlier on in the game, and they weren't happy with the results, and now leave them alone. So
Yeah,
we're going to
no.
see how that pans out.
Yeah. So, another Amy pro tip. If you're having trouble, because I'm assuming you went in through the front, there is a way to get in through the back.
Okay.
Which will take you straight to the story event.
Okay.
And I had so much fun with that story event. Oh my god! And there's another one somewhere else, which I'm like, which again, I was cackling. It's just one of those things where it's like the game's letting me do this. Why is the game? No other game would let me get away with this.
Yeah, and I found my way through to some sort of tavern where this enormous gentleman, a variety of concoctions on his back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the other one.
So, for some reason, I did not engage with the conversation with the individual. I just bravely shot them from the shadows and just started the fight this way. Yeah, I imagine there were some story elements where essentially you could, I want to say, have a drink with them first, and then you can figure it out that way. But
Oh, you can have a drink with him.
yeah,
Yeah, you can.
so that fight got a bit tense when they, but we survived the like number of rounds before certain effects happened to them and all the rest of it. So yeah, we're in the hopefully what is the spookiest part of the game. It doesn't get much more spooky than this.
No, this is the spooky section, like Act
Okay,
2
then
in
that's
the
fine.
Shadow Curse Lands. There is just to forewarn you, I guess there is like a quest line that will take you to another sort of spooky area in Act 3.
Okay.
But I think it's definitely a lot less intense on the spooky stuff than Act
Yeah.
2. So,
Yeah,
and you'll get to meet an interesting character.
Yeah. I came across Isabel and I instantly fell in love with the outfit, and I want to know where I can get that outfit. Hopefully to murder them in order to get this outfit.
No.
But yeah, so they had a really cool look about them, and they were awesome. And yeah, it's cool to see some of the characters I met from the Grove to begin with, and where they are now and where they've gone to, and heading towards Moonrise Tower, I want to say.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll be getting to that in the next couple of days and whatnot. But yeah, I'm all in on board. It is rocketing up the individual rankings that I have for titles, which came out this year.
So, one question, and again, for people who haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, I'm going to keep this as vague and spoiler-free as I possibly can, but I have to ask this question. You've done the crash, right?
I have.
Did you get insta-killed in the most hilarious way possible? while talking to a giant person.
I did not, but I did make an enemy with this person.
Okay.
That's for damn sure.
Okay, fair enough. Like, I'm loving, like, because Baldur's Gate 3 is one of those games that people are just picking up, like, throughout the year. And I love, like, I think everyone who's gotten to that point and has gotten that particular outcome will just post about it on social media and just think like, oh my God, the game just killed me.
Yes.
And I'm just like, yeah, it's fucking great, right? Like, the game will just go, you're dead. That's
as a D&D DM, it's always the secret goal of every DM to get a total party kill, a TPK as we call it.
Like, oh, you're planning on using hubris here. I see. Well, that's not going to end well for you. It's such a fantastic moment.
It is, and in that particular moment, so obviously you're coming into this game and only knowing what you've been told, kind of thing. It's kind of you have this individual who is currently saying they're your guardian, whether they remain your guardian, whether they turn around. Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal moment. Later on in the game, we'll find out, kind of thing. But you got to ride or die with the person that brought you, right? So
I look forward to our future Baldur's Gate 3 spoiler cast.
Yeah, 100%.
There is another very hilarious opportunity for you to die instantly.
Awesome.
And I'm going to interested to know if you do it. I did it. And the entire time I was doing it, I auto-saved because I was like, I'm pretty sure if I do this thing, it's going to result in my immediate death. And I was like, but I have to see.
Yeah, you got to see. You got to push those boundaries, right?
So I was like, click, 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 click. Yep, I'm dead.
Yeah. I also found my way into...
How many video games... Sorry, just to interrupt you a second. How many video games will just do that? Will just be like, I'm going to give you the option to die. Like, if you choose these options, you're going to die and then actually kill you. Like, that's just fucking great game design.
Yeah, that like most video games will do that. Are you sure? Are you really sure?
Oh, there's a bit really far on. It's the only time it happened, and I was having such flashbacks to playing D&D, where it's like you click on a thing, and the game does the DM thing and goes, "Are you sure about this?" And I was like, "Yes!" Every D&D player who has ever played D&D has been asked this question by their DM, and they always ignore it.
Yes. Amazing. Yeah, I also stumbled into an altar for Shah, I want to say. And they asked me to either pick up a knife or pick up the knife and do the whole Robin Hood Prince of Thieves where you slice your hand and do the rest of it. So I thought, what's the worst that can happen? I'm not going to steal the knife because Shadow Heart's right here. I'm guessing she's going to frown upon whatever I do, kind of. Yeah, I got some blessing for those. So we'll see if that has any ulterior effects. And yeah, then it's just working my way into Karlach's heart, and that's objective number one.
I mean, that's objective number one, right? To give some vague, definitely not directed advice, before you go to Moonrise Tower, do make sure you're following all of the companion quests that you can. Because there's a huge one in the Shadowlands.
So Gale met up with this old dude.
Yeah, the dude. Yeah, the wizard guy. Yeah.
So essentially, I think I've come to a point where at least two of our companions so far have come up with a story beat, which is, okay, you're going to need to do this thing, but then you're going to die if you don't do this other kind of thing. And he's kind of like, okay, is that going to be the thing for all of them?
It's like, well, it's definitely a plan.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a good plan, though.
It's also me saying, yeah, sure, we'll do all of that. Then, no, we're not going to do that.
You are not going anywhere near that particular engagement. Yeah. That's what I did. But like, yeah, it is possible to win the game.
Yes,
a lot sooner than you otherwise would.
Yeah, so I'll just keep an ear out for if any of those other things going to pop up with any of the companions rocking. But
well, I mean, you're in the Shadowlands. Surely any characters who might have something to do with shadows.
I mean, who could it be?
Might have some kind of extremely important and incredibly amazing story content, maybe.
I mean, yeah, their hand may hurt every now and then. We don't know.
Maybe
we'll find out.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, my plan is to keep poking around until I've at least explored all of the bits of the map that I can do, kind of thing, before moving on. And hopefully, I'll bump into whatever story beats I do come into. But if I don't, then I don't. That's my playthrough, and it's
That's
the dice. Yeah,
you're the author of your own story.
absolutely. But yeah, that's Baldur's Gate 3. The other thing we've been doing is getting ready for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So my wonderful girlfriend, Lollyfox12,
Shout
they
Sorry.
they particularly enjoy. We enjoy playing video games together, kind of thing, where one of us will be on the sticks and the other will be sat with them in front of the TV, kind of thing. And Final Fantasy VII Remake is still one of my favorite games most favorite games of all time, and it's one of these where they haven't experienced any of Final Fantasy VII, Crisis Core, Advent Children, or any Ever Crisis or anything else, kind of thing. So, okay, how do we get them prepped for everything that's going to be happening in Rebirth with a sense? I'll say a small sense, because I don't think anybody truly understands everything that's going on when it comes to FF7 of what is going to go down in Rebirth and why things are happening. So,
the theory crafting I'm seeing in it around Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is incredibly entertaining. I have theories. We all have theories.
So it might involve a quick replay of, well, I say quick, it's still going to be probably the 20 hours of remake and integrate. So it might be a bit of just putting it down to easy. All my characters are level 50 anyway. I'm not sure I don't hold much hope that will actually matter. As in, I don't think we'll be able to port level 50 characters over to start a Rebirth. There'll be some freaky deaky way why everybody starts it.
I don't think, because it's a cross-generational game, so the chances are a lot of people probably played this game on PS4 rather than PS5. But there'll be something. Like, they're not going to start you from zero. I'm pretty sure I've read someone from the game development team saying something like that, but I don't think there'll be like a save transfer going on.
But there are several moments that I'm really looking forward to showing them of remake. So everything that goes down in the Honeybee Inn, the Hell House fight.
The Honeybee Inn. That entire chapter. Just fucking legendary. I want to just replay that chapter over and over again.
I can't wait to see the expression when we go to the handjob store. That's going to be fun.
Also in the same chapter.
Also,
all three of the things you just said are all in the same chapter.
Shit goes down in War Market.
War Market is fucking amazing.
Yeah, but so just to give them some context into why it's important when the whispers come in and interrupt what goes down in Shimmer Tower when Barrack gets gently stabbed. Yeah, and as it's in the whole point of remake is we are in the midst of resetting the possibilities of what can happen. Given that what we know happened in the original FF7 title, what I think the whispers were suggesting of all the events of Advent Children and how the three figures there kind of line with Yosh and the other two jabronis who are in Advent Children, and it's anything's on the table, and I hold hope in my heart that a certain character doesn't meet a sticky end this time, because
that's what I was going to ask you about, actually.
Yeah.
So, like, they released the age rating for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth not long ago, and it's like rated teen or whatever. But like when they release these ratings, like they tell you, like they give you the context, so it's like all of the things that happen in the game,
all the fun stuff.
Like no like spoilers or anything. It's just like these are the reasons why this is rated teen. So I'm reading through it because I'm a massive nerd.
And bad language,
bad language. People are smoking. Characters getting impaled, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready."
So the one theory that I've been
spoiler for people who go skip to the next thing on the timestamps.
So because they came out with Crisis Core Reunion and they reintroduced or reminded people of who's that. And how we saw him in the post credits of Remake, either coming into the same timeline or the two timelines existing in parallel and all the rest of it. I think Cloud might make the sacrifice play and jump in front of the Blade. And Zack takes over. And most of the third game is how do we get Cloud back into the fold?
Well, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because obviously in the original game, Cloud does go away for a while either way. Like you play as like Tifa and Sid. It's like the main party leaders. So I did a spoiler cast in 2020 with a friend of mine who's like a massive Final Fantasy nerd. Shout out to Tori, and like we spitballed, like, because like once you unfold the full game and it's just like, oh, like it's about like it's about changing fate, and I was sort of like, I don't think they're going to change very much. I think they're leaving you with the impression that like anything could happen, but I think like things
they're giving us hope just so we can rip our hearts out even stronger.
What I said at the time was, because I think she mentioned the possibility of Cloud. Cloud will be the one instead of Aerith. And what I said was, I was like, well, here's what I would do if I was writing Final Fantasy VII Part 2, which was I would make it a choice, not a player choice. I mean, a character choice where it's like she knows it's going to happen. Pretty sure Red knows it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think by the time we get to that moment, everyone knows what's about to happen. And for whatever story-related reasons, character-related reasons, they can save her. But to make sure the world doesn't end or whatever, they have to let it happen.
Yeah,
and
the ultimate weapon is the ultimate sacrifice.
Because I was like, how do they do it? How do they still do it in a way where it destroys us all over again? And I was like, if they can stop it, but they don't, because they have to make that sacrifice. I was like, that to me would just be, it would kill me.
Yeah. I can also see there being, so in Remake, you had the scene in front of Aerith's house where it could be you and Tifa, you and projection of Aerith, or you and Barrack, I think. Or, sorry, Cloud. All these people, I'm projecting myself in there. I could also see it being in Rebirth where we have similar instances where it could be a different combination of characters, and everybody can have a quote-unquote unique experience when it comes to Rebirth, and that might be interesting. But then you get into the thing with the third game. How do you tie all that back in? I'm sure they figured it out, but yeah, I can't wait for. I think it's early Feb, late Jan, maybe
March, January. It's February, March sounds right.
Time is a flat circle anyway. It's coming at some point soon.
October probably.
But yeah.
But yeah, no. Like that's always been sort of my pet theory of how they're going to do it. I'm like, they're going to do it. They just need to make it hurt just as much as it did the first time.
Yeah, I mean, it gives them agency at the end of the day as well, and rather than just being a quote unquote damsel in distress for people who haven't necessarily played the original and they know of Aerith and what happens to her in that kind of thing, they might just think, oh, it's classic video game, the trope in this kind of thing.
They're going to do the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only one of the most iconic scenes in video game history, you know?
Yes.
That's the, but yeah, it's like I said, that's my theory. Like, I think they're going to have to make it so that you choose to do this thing. Like, the characters choose to do this thing. I hate myself for even thinking of it. Because then I was like, what would I do? Oh, I would apparently just inflict misery on everybody.
And Tetsuya Nomura, he's rubbing his hands thinking of all the miseries about to unleash on the world
he's listened to all of these theories and he's just like, you're all wrong.
Sat there in a jacket made of 17 zippers. He's unzipping all of them all at once.
Giving it the evil laugh. But yeah, no, like I'm super excited. Like I do kind of want to replay a remake myself just to refresh it in my mind.
And I'm so glad they're giving Yuffie some shorts that fit this time and giving her a belt rather than the questionable decision of giving her an unbuttoned pair of shorts.
I'm surprised the Gamer Bros didn't lose their mind like they did with Kiefer's sports bra.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'll never forget that. Was it Callie? He put out that post as like, here's how bras work.
Yes.
But yeah, wowzers.
Final Fantasy 7, what a game.
Final Fantasy 7. Like, how did they do it twice? Caught lightning in a bottle twice.
We'll soon find out.
It's good. I've also been playing Coccoon. I haven't finished it. I just sat down to play it after I finished Slay the Princess. Not immediately after, but like, it's my next game. And then I realized I must have deleted it because it wasn't on my Xbox. And I was like, well, fucking goddamn. So I had to re-download it and then play it a different day. And I played about half of it last night.
Okay.
It's really breezy. Like, I was surprised by how breezy it is. Like, you know, you see the concept of like worlds within worlds, and you jump out and jump back in and like move all of the orbs around and stuff, ponder all the orbs. So I was like thinking like, this is going to be really cerebral. Like, I'm really going to be like testing the muscles in my head. And I was just like, no, like the solutions to the puzzles are just tricky enough to like tickle that itch in the back of my head. But I was never really stumped. So I never really stopped moving. So it's like, it's been interesting. It just be like constantly like, pick the thing, do the thing, and just been like, wow, I'm like, it's really breezy.
The design of how they you physically can't backtrack in this game. So you never spend any amount of time saying, oh, did I miss something? Let's go back. Yeah. Like 20 minutes of backtracking and all the rest of it. You just, there's not any of that. And the solution to everything you need is right in front.
Yeah, it's right there. It's like, if you see like this thing and this thing, it's like, okay, well, I have to make these two things interact in some way, and that's the puzzle. And it's good. Like, I was worried when I started picking up multiple orbs that I was going to lose track of like which one I was supposed to be in and what I was supposed to be doing, but it's not happened yet, which is good. It's just like, oh, you just follow a path until you can't follow it anymore, and then you jump out and then stick a world within a world within a world, and it's just like, oh wow, there's some fucking conceptual shit going on here, man. Like,
and it does
I feel my bougie game journalist brain activating.
it does that wonderful thing that all the great puzzle games do, is it makes you feel like a genius when you figure out the solution for this.
Like, oh, if I just put this inside this, then I can do this. Yeah.
Well, the one which broke my brain was you intentionally get your little buddy caught the kind of fly creature who helps you unlock things.
I think
you
I just
intentionally get them caught, jumped into some like another orb,
in a
and
different
jump back
orb,
into a different,
so that you can and then get him unstuck. And it was like, I just did that puzzle last night, and I was like, it wasn't one where I had to think about it. As soon as I saw it, I was like, aha! But it was still just like, that's really clever. That's a clever use of this mechanic. Like, I love games. I've said this multiple times on this podcast. I do love a game that has one thing and then just does everything it can with that one thing.
Yes.
It's just it's fun. I don't like the boss fights.
They can be a bit they are challenging, and it's one of these where you essentially can't get hit once. If you get hit once, you get thrown out of that particular orb, and then
it's like Smash Brothers.
Game as it comes up. But so once you've some of the later boss fights, I will say they can get challenging. And going back to the Dark Souls conversation you had earlier, in some Dark Souls events, when you get bodied by a boss and you spawn back at the bonfire. No, this is the first time every time, right? So, and then you're doing the trek back to the wall of fog or whatever it happens to be. There's one instance in Coccoon where there is quite the trek to get back up to where the boss is, and you have to do a number of things a number of times. That is the most frustrating part of the game.
Oh, put the bonfire outside the boss, man. What are you doing? We learned this Dark Souls.
That's it. Yeah. So you'll get really good at doing the run up to the boss thing, and then by the time you get to the boss, you forget what the mechanic was to take the boss down.
What am I doing again? Oh no, I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's beautifully told. There's no
Oh yeah,
bits of dialogue in the game at all. But yeah,
this is
the signposting and the visual storytelling is
this is probably like the bougie game enjoyer in me. I still love that someone said that. I mean, like, but like, I love when a game just drops you in the world and goes, "Okay, figure it out." Like, doesn't even give you a tutorial, no tutorials, no nothing. It's just like, cool,
Yeah.
here's a world, have fun. And, and it's like, wait, are you gonna even tell me the buttons? And then it's just like, no, you can figure it out. It's like,
yeah, just try them. What's the worst that can happen?
it's just so good. I don't know why. I just love that kind of game design. I really, really, really love it. Where it's like, you let me figure stuff out for myself. And the best part about that is, it means I'm probably going to remember all the fucking controls. Like, as much as I love the Tales of RPG series, like, the fact that you're still getting fucking tutorial hints 20 hours into the game, it's like, dude, I still don't remember the shit you taught me 10 hours ago. I'm just doing the basic attacks because I can't remember any of the other stuff. All of the information you try to stuff into my brain, it's just pushing it out of the other side.
Did you not know you needed to be a sponge like for the first 10 hours of the game where they throw tutorials at you?
Yeah, and I love those games, but it is like, tutorials is a thing. Like, a lot of games don't necessarily get right. It's like, let me figure it out. That's what I'm here for.
Yep. 100%.
I think that's just another one of the reasons why I eventually like really just fell in love with the Soulsborns, because it's like, you just get the fuck out of my way and let me figure out what I'm doing, and I'll fuck it up, but I will learn as I do so.
Yeah. Yeah, so go play Coccoon if you haven't already. It's available on Xbox Game Pass, on Xbox and on PC. So wherever you get
and
your
on
games,
PS5.
be able to get it. Yeah, and
Because Moody bought it on PS5 because he didn't check Game Pass.
Yeah,
cool.
if you're inclined to get trophies that way, then there you go.
Yeah, wherever you want to play it. It's a good game.
Video games are fun.
It is a good game. Like, I'll finish it. Like, what did I actually posted? I narrowed my my list down to a few games. The games that I'm hoping to play before the game of the year. Coccoon is still on next. I haven't finished it. In Stars and Time, which I talked about wanting to play it last week after Rebecca Valentine did her thing. Spider-Man 2, which is over there. I need to put it in the PlayStation at some point. I need to finish Sea of Stars, which I've like a few hours in. Chance of Sonar, which I have downloaded on my PS5.
Yeah.
Videoverse and the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood, which are in my Steam basket as we speak. I just need to hit purchase. It's Steam sale. It's the Steam sale thing where it's like you're maximizing like the games that you buy.
Maxing, that's it. Yeah.
And the last one is Stray Gods, and that's the only one I don't own, and I don't know where I don't know. Like, I'm probably not gonna be able to buy it before Game of the Year, so I might not get to it by then. And a Highland Song, which is coming out next week or the week after next.
Nice.
Which I've been looking forward to for a while. Inkle, great studio, makes some phenomenal games. So that's like my rundown of like, this is what I'm hoping to get to before Game of the Year. And then like, I feel like I've got like a solid list of games to work from to then argue about with you and Moody in a few weeks.
There you go.
I'm going to be interested to see how our Game of the Year conversation runs. We're all respectful enough to not start fights with each other, but when I was pitching the idea to Moody, I was just ripping off Giant Bomb and just like making a big list and then cutting games, and then like we get to the 10 and then we start 10 and just order them as we go up. And it's like, I mean, we're all pretty opinionated, and we all seem to have somewhat divergent taste in games. So I'm going to be fascinated to see what are the 10 games that make it to the 10. And then what order they're going to go in, because I feel like our Game of the Year list is not going to look like anyone else's Game of the Year list collectively, which is just awesome.
Yeah, if I recall back to last year when you kind of invited me to do the kind of rundown of you, Moody, providing your 10s, I think God of War Ragnarok only won because you had a 10.
I had it at number 10.
And then Moody had it at the
and
number
we had
one
it at
kind of
number
thing.
one. Yeah, that was kind of why I wanted to get away from it. It was a great idea, even though we kind of like trashed that idea when we were talking about the Game Awards last week. But like what I quickly realized as you were doing the rundown for the top 10, I was like, oh, he's just going backwards and forwards between our lists from like halfway through, and I was like, oh no, oops. And like it was God of War was number 1 because we both played it. Tunic was number 2 because we both played it, and then like from number 3 down, it was just an Amy game, a Moody game, an Amy game, an Amy game. It was 100%. Like we already had 2 crossover games, and I was like, we need to rethink this format.
Yeah, because it made the show like 30 minutes as well.
Yeah, Immortality got bodied, man. Like I stand by that as one of my favorite games I've ever played. Like I would have definitely tried to argue that up to at least number 2 last year. If we'd done done the format we're gonna try last year, I would have been like, no, it's number 2.
But yeah, I'm looking forward not only to what we put together, but the Giant Bomb. I think for the first time they're going to do it in live audience, so they'll get people shout at them live.
I always enjoy watching their discussions. Like it goes back to what I was saying about how I like to enjoy Game of the Year season, where it's like, give me the passion, man, and you just see people like oh, we're gonna cut this game, and it's like, okay, that's fair. Like, this is why I loved it, but I get that it's not a top 10 game. But like, there was a year, the year was whatever year Judgment came out, and it was like. I can't remember which of the people on the podcast it was, but it was just like, I am gonna get this to the top 10, and he was just like refused to let anyone get rid of it. And then it got to the top 10 deliberation, and then he just went, yeah, we could put it at number 10. That's fine. I only wanted to get it this far. it was like his personal game of the year. He knew no one else really like vibed with it, and he just, as soon as it got to the 10, he was just like, I did it. That's good enough for me.
Great stuff.
Yeah, I guess go watch Giant Bomb. Good channel. But watch our Game of the Year podcast the week before Christmas. I don't know what the date will be when the podcast comes out, but we're going to do the same thing, but with me, Vitz, and Moody, and we're going to have a lovely discussion about like fucking 30 games or something. Just give or take. OpenCritic Head-To-Head. That was what we're doing next.
Yes,
it's time for the end. The end of the podcast is nigh. It's time for
the end of
OpenCritic.
podcast.
Time for OpenCritic Head-To-Head. This is the game we play every week, where we guess the OpenCritic average of upcoming games. Whoever guesses closest to the score gets a point. If you manage to guess the score correctly, you get 2 points. Last week, we tried to guess the OpenCritic average of 2 games. The first one was In Stars and Time, which is currently sitting on my PS5 right now. Sorry, just loading something up for later.
All good.
So In Stars and Time, I guessed it would get an 85. Mooney guessed it would get an 81. Vitz guessed it would get an 82. At the time of recording, In Stars and Time has an OpenCritic average of 79, which means Moody gets a point. We also tried...
Dang it, and also congrats.
Yes. Well, we also tried to guess the OpenCritic average of Worldless. I guessed it would get a 79. I just swapped those over. Moody guessed it would get an 81. Vitz guessed it would get a 77 at the time of recording. Worldless has an OpenCritic average of 82, which gives Moody another point. Jams the scores in at Amy 36, Moody 36.
Tied game.
Vitz 8, draws 3. Vitz's year will be next year, I'm sure of it.
Let's win the Fantasy Critic League for this year, and then we'll worry about.
We'll talk about that in a sec. It's heating up. So this week we're going to guess the OpenCritic average of 2 more upcoming games, both on Russell's list. He's trying to get in a third at the moment in Fantasy Critic. But the first up, we've got Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince.
I would like to go with a 79.
79 it is. Yeah, I don't know anything about Dragon Quest Monsters.
And I imagine it's a spin-off. It's not a mainline title.
Probably doesn't have a number.
Yeah.
It doesn't have Roman numerals after the title.
There you go.
I'm gonna go with 75. Moody will put his guess in when he puts his guess in.
When they get around to it, yeah.
And next up, we've got SteamWorld Build, which is an interesting one. I love the SteamWorld series, like just constantly reinventing itself. There's like different genres. Like I played SteamWorld Dig 2 on Twitch years ago, and it was like a like action platformer, and now it's like a building game, and I'm like, this is cool, man.
I would like to go for an 81, please.
Read my mind.
I'm just going off vibes here.
Oh, this whole game is going off vibes. Moody,
Yeah.
well, not long after we started this game, Moody did point out this is basically random chance, the game. Like, you can't possibly... It's like this in Fantasy Critics. Like, you can't possibly be skilled at either game. It is just guessing.
Yeah. Who can ride their luck out the most?
Yeah, who is the luckiest motherfucker on the podcast? I am going with an 84. So we'll see how that falls out. I think there's only like 2 more weeks we can do this with like new releases and stuff.
Yeah.
So we're pretty close to wrapping up this game. Just like we're pretty close to wrapping up Fantasy Critic. It's between you and me, Vitz. Everybody else fell by the wayside. And when I say between you and me, I mean it's a long shot. It's a long shot. You are currently in first with 189 points, and I'm in second with 176 points. And then Keith is in third with 137. Moody is in fourth with 137.
Joey's loving that.
Yeah, it's the first time this has ever happened, but they are separated by the decimal points. And it's not that far apart. Russ is in fifth currently with 114, but Russ has fucking, I think, 3 games coming out. So we'll see if he can get past both of them. Elf Daughter is in 6th with 76 points and a shit ton of games also to come out.
Yes.
She went fucking nuts on the bids last week when she realized she could drop things. So it all comes down to a Highland song.
It does. Because I put some cheeky bids in a couple of weeks ago, but they didn't pan out. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I saw the gap in your team, and I was like, man, if he fills that gap, I'm fucked. But then I was like, what's he going to fill it with? At this point, with what's left over, I don't know if the risk is greater to you by putting a game in there.
Yeah, or just like taking the hit of 0
and potentially just getting a minus. It's like maybe you just take the 0 and hope for the best. Because you're currently 15 ahead.
Something like that, yeah.
14 points ahead. I need Highland Song to get me 15 points. So I need it again 85 or above. And I've got you. But that's a lot of points.
I've had the most amount of fun doing this year.
I said at the beginning of the year after I fucking curb stomped a lot of them. I remember saying at the beginning of the year I would just like a fight. That's all I want. A fight.
Unless savior of the video game industry, Jeff Keighley comes out and drops Silk Song, and then it's all over.
It's all over. Like, it's done. We're done. We're done.
To be fair, though, I wouldn't even be mad if you won that way.
If I won that way, like, that doesn't feel like good luck. That feels like the completion of a narrative arc that started in 2020.
Yes.
However this shakes out in the fight between the two of us, like, it was so much fun. Like, having this fight. It's like the first year we did it, I cleaned up. The second year we did it, Moody cleaned up. The third year we did it, I cleaned up again. It's like this year it's been like me and you just fucking fighting each other all the way down.
Back and forth.
Russ was in there for a bit. Keith was in there for a bit. It's like, yeah, this is what Fantasy Critic's all about.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like I'm desperately watching for a Highland Song coming out. Like, I'm going to be refreshing OpenCritic, just like, come on.
So it says projected points 2.5.
Yeah, so the projected points are based on the number of it's based on the hype factor, and the hype factor is calculated by the number of people who pick the game up across the entire game.
Yeah.
So what you tend to find is the projected points get way off the further into the year you go, because like a Highland Song's release date was only announced last week, so like
not a lot of people would have picked it up. So not a hype.
Yeah. Whereas
fair enough.
I was like, I follow the guy, one of the guys on John Ingold, the creative director, and he kept saying there's a complete version of the game, and I was looking on Steam, and I was like, it's fucking November, and they still haven't changed that 2023 tag. They're gonna fucking drop that. This is coming out, and then Nintendo have announced it Indie World, and I was like, this game's coming out, man. This game's coming out.
Yeah, so looking back, so at the start of the year, I picked 2 Mario titles. So I had a feeling that one of the two was going to happen. So a 3D Mario title or 2D Mario title.
You played a fucking blind there.
Yeah, grabbed them both, and Super Mario Wonder did the business for me. I shot myself in the foot with the last case of Benedict Fox. I thought it was going to do a lot better than what it actually did. It lost me 4 points. I'm not too mad at my counter picks, only losing me 6 points in total. There are worse picks in the league when it comes to this. So
yeah, sure.
So yeah, but as I said, it's been an honor going back and forth with you, and yeah, best of luck, honestly.
Like, yeah, you too. I love the narrative that came in. It was like Moody was like, "Oh, Amy, you've definitely won this. Look how far ahead you are," and I'm like going, have you seen what Vitz has got on his team? I don't think I'm out. I don't think I'm as far ahead as you think I am. But yeah, no, like you can kind of see this like almost sag in the middle of my team, where it's like that first round of pickups for me was not good.
Yeah.
And then I just like I listened to the No Clip podcast. They were talking about this game called Dave the Diver. I looked it up on Steam in early access, and they were like, it's coming out in 2 weeks. And it's overwhelmingly positive with like 10,000 reviews. And I went, yeah, fuck this. I'm taking a chance on this motherfucker before anyone else gets fucking wind of it.
No, I would have hoped that Russ would have done slightly better having... so I think that they would have finished maybe last in the previous year's tournament, kind of thing. So they got first go of it this time. Whilst they made some decent picks to begin with, they also made some questionable.
Sure. I mean, for someone who is currently in 5th place in our Fantasy Critic League to also have the 2 highest rated games of the year in his team, it's
something's gone wrong.
Oof, something happened here, and that something was forspoken. Like he did really well, but it's just like it's weird how like he's so far back. I don't understand like how that happened. Like, but he's still got 3 games to come out. I think he could possibly.
They should do.
But I think he possibly could hit 3rd. So, I mean, he just collapsed when Summer Games Fest happened, and like
that's it.
All of his games got delayed in like one day. Which just, I mean, that's gotta suck, man. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, no, like, I know Moody. Moody's known he's been out of this for so long. Like, he's probably been drawing up his like plans for next year.
Oh, I imagine it's the Kevin McAllister Home Alone shotgun kind of. Here's everywhere I'm gonna fuck this next year.
Next year, I'm gonna beat everybody. Whereas I've just been like, I can still win this. I can still win this. I'm in this. I haven't even been thinking about next year. I need to get finished first so I can have Hollow Knight again. The meme continues 4 years running.
There you go.
I'll be gutted if someone takes Hollow Knight away from me next year.
Oh, I think they're branded as a villain if they take Hollow Knight from you.
I have to do it. I have to do it. Like, I have to get points off of this game. I've had it on every single Fantasy Critic League we've done since 2020. I have to do it.
Hey, that last update they gave, they didn't say it wasn't coming out this year. They just said it was coming out
No, it's not coming out this year. That would be awesome. But no, I'm gonna have to pick it first again next year. And then it still won't fucking come out.
They
Someone-
said, yeah, you know,
Someone's
We-
going
we
to
thought
counterpick
about
it,
it.
though. I know someone's going to try to be funny and counterpick it, and I hope it ruins them.
Amy, take us home.
That's it for episode 300 and something.
79.
79. Thank you for the Words About Games podcast. Thanks for joining me. We've had a loosey-goosey episode. We had loads of news to talk
Sure
about.
did.
Talked about none of it. Had a nice, fun chat at the beginning instead, and then talked about video games for the second half.
It was, to be honest, it was mostly bad news. There was like one ray of hope from Atlas, but that was it.
Bad. It's bad news all the way down. Might get to it next week.
Yeah.
The news is probably hopefully going to start slowing down as we head into the Christmas season, and the Hanukkah season, the assorted
And Kwanzaa and whatever else you might celebrate.
the assorted celebrations season.
Yeah, the holiday season.
The holiday season. Holidays are coming. Sounds like a threat.
Do you not see them? Like the armada of red lorries coming over the hill.
Yeah. What's in those lorries? That's what I
That's
want to
it.
know. It's not
Your
Coca-Cola.
mistletoe is no match for my toe missile. Put it that way.
All right, that's gonna do it. Vitz, close us out. I normally tell
Sure.
Moody to, but I guess
Friends, do me a favor. Take a deep breath, unclench your jaw, and relax your shoulders. And tell me if you feel better.
I do,
There you go.
but I can't reach the mouse.
You don't have to hold that pose. Just
We're
say,
done.
Just take
pod-
a deep breath and relax every now and then.
This podcast is lasting forever now.
Sorry, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Peace.